have Control Mage, and we have a Secret Mage. Then we have a Dragon Priest, and we have a Big Priest. And then we have Murloc Paladin and a Control Paladin.
That's kind of nutty, actually. This is what everyone wants from Hearthstone. You can just play whatever you like. It'll be fine. But we are kicking it off. Bequiet is starting on that Big Priest. And Jarla is going to be on the Control Paladin. So just to point out, though, Jarla's not playing the OTK, right?
No, that's not the OTK.
He's just playing Control.
It has the, Oofer of the Ebon Blade anyway. But this is not the OTK version when you just play all 4 Riders of the...
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse or whatever you call them.
I think they're meant to be the 4 Horsemen.
Yeah.
But I will say, I was surprised when the Death Knights got announced that Uther wasn't as played early on. Because I was like, this card's just great. You effectively heal for 10 that turn. You can keep healing with the weapon. And the 2/2, just hero power created 2/2. Forget about the kill effect. It's just a good hero power at that point.
Especially against Jaina.
Yeah, it's really good. But I feel like Paladin didn't really have the support it required to use Uther in like the late game. But I think Call to Arms has changed that.
A little bit, yes.
Yeah.
The Call to Arms can be actually very useful, and it's something that I just wanted to point out is that Paladin actually lacked a card that is like both tempo play and apart from Pyromancer quality, right? And every single time it was like play a curve minion. Kind of.
And hope.
Yeah, and hope. It was kind of like that. If you have a Truce of a Champion, fantastic, because that's like the tempo play for 10-5, and you have another swing while you develop something on the board, but in general, the Control Paladins were always kind of slow. Like, very slow on responses, on being proactive, on, just...
Also, as well, Call to Arms is almost pretty much card draw at this point as well. And, when Control Paladins used to play Lay on Hands and Solemn Vigil when it was in, those were still very, very slow, whereas Call to Arms is very proactive and things you deck out to get to those, like, meatier threats later on.
And when you consider that the deck can actually manage to play Dirty Rat on its own, and now we can get it for free without the drawback from the Call to Arms, well, that's pretty great. That's the best 2-drop in the game.
Very good for aggro. Looking at this, though, I'm honestly not quite sure how this matchup is supposed to play out, as we've probably discussed a few times, just because of how weird it is seeing all these different decks interact with each other since the patch. But I still struggle to get past really any deck doing well against a Big Priest that can do what Big Priest wants to do in terms of generating the oversized, huge minions that are very impactful early on. I don't know what the answer is, because you could say, well, equality is great, but then they just res it.
Yeah.
And then you don't have equality anymore, so it's kind of tough.
Does Bequiet have the Spellstone within his Big Priest?
I don't believe.
Yeah.
Oh, it does. Sorry, it does, yeah.
2 of them.
Yeah. So he can play the late game.
Oh, man. He has so much gas. Oh, he just drew it.
Yep.
So he has so much gas, it's impossible to keep up. So that's kind of sad to say, but when you play against a Big Priest, especially with a control deck, you'd rely more on the fact that the Big Priest doesn't draw his good cards.
Yes, you don't want them to curve with you, as Big Priest does curve.
I mean, if they have like a Barnes on 3 on 4 and then followed up with a Resurrection and lesser spells on 7, that's kind of like a, sealed game.
And now that the effectively Raza Priest is non-existent at this point, there are no decks that can kind of just ignore what Big Priest is doing and try and just, cycle fast and just kill them. Because you just can't get past those taunts. But Jarla, funnily enough, as the Control Paladin, is going to be almost the aggressor at this point.
I mean,
you can
he
see
has
just
to.
doing as much damage as possible.
The problem is, one Obsidian statue basically resets the entire health status. All right, first Shadow Essence being played on turn 5. Let's see what does he get. A shot. It's not possible. Bonds. I feel like I'm playing this game already.
It's like me when I play a Spiteful deck and just draw the spells. That's normally what I end up doing. What I will say, though, in terms of overall game plan for Jarla here, he has 2 Stone Hills. He has Tarim, Raglight Lord, Tyrion, and N'Zoth, as well as, obviously, that Uther. So there is a chance that if he can hold on for long enough, he has a chance at just overpowering the volume of minions that Bequiet can get on the board at any given time. Also, late game, if Jarla can put enough taunts and survive in the way, those Uther hero powers are a threat, because there's only so much removal that Bequiet can actually use against those 2/2s.
Good point. Also had to point out that Bequiet doesn't run Free from Ember in his deck.
Ah, okay.
So he sacrificed a 3 for Amber for
Spellstones.
Spellstones, yeah. I would assume so.
Spellstones are insane, though.
2 Silk of Healings. Interesting.
This guy's coming down from Jarla mainly.
Oh, he plays double Embrace the Shadow. Didn't see that, actually.
Is that not common?
Big Priest? I mean, you can just play an additional Dragonfire Potion. But the problem is, if there's so many Dragon Priests in the meta, you would have to ban it. In this case. So probably that's why he plays Embrace the Shadow and Silk of Healing combo. Has no Shadowwood Pains. That's a really interesting build. Like, the removal is based basically around that Silk of Healing and Embrace the Shadow combo, and Shadow Vision to support the viability of that combo.
Yeah, I think it's just more about a lot of the aggressive decks are actually board-focused flood decks. You look at the Murloc Paladin. Like, killing one Murloc and Murloc Paladin with Pain isn't going to cut it. You need the big board clears as a safety net. Where did he go? Jarla with his hand now doesn't... This is one of the problems. If you're trying to put on pressure, which he's done a good job of here so far, and it helped by, obviously, Barnes coming out of the Essence earlier on.
Well, that's what you hope that the big press will be doing.
Exactly.
Like, this is a disaster for Bequiet.
And there's Yashiraj, and now an Obsidian statue in hand. But we are getting close to turn 9 for Bequiet, where you can just play that Obsidian statue. And then things get a little bit dicey. There is no silence in Jarla's Paladin, which means that he can't just say, okay, if he drops it on curve, silence go. You know, and just try and race that way and get through the first taunt. That doesn't exist.
And then the Obsidian statue has actually a hard time getting killed, because it needs to attack into
trade,
minions. So it's still alive for like several turns. So
that's rough.
It's actually not that terrible for Bequiet.
Just drawing a 1/1.
I mean, sorry, you meant for horrible for Jarla.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
We didn't talk about the skulking guys actually, because it makes quite a difference. The pen size potions are now deleted, and that makes the Shadowwood Horror way worse.
Yeah. Yeah, now the bigger minions are going to be easily removed now, outside of that circle, as you mentioned earlier.
Pyromancer quality available for Jarla, but as I said before, it's very tough to decide when do you actually need to use it.
This weapon swing is almost certainly going to happen, mainly because Uther's just going to be slammed on 9.
Yeah.
You have to. You want as much damage as possible, and also want to get those hero powers chugging as quick as possible.
Yep, and not because of, you make 4 and you win the game. It's more because, well, you just have a 2/2.
Yeah, you want something to do every turn.
That's good pressure.
Because already, the Aldor Peacekeeper, there was for a second, I thought of, do you just play the Peacekeeper? Just get a 3/3 on the board and keep going? But changing, for example, a Lich King from 8 to 1 is a pretty big deal, actually, when you want to try and maybe flip to the grinding plan and try and grind them out.
Now the Call to Arms kind of became worse with those silver recruits in the deck. It's not a big deal.
But it also helps thin them. He has drawn a lot of his two mana minions. There's a Dirty Rat and a Pyro in hand now. So
I mean, Dirty Rat in this matchup is kind of hilarious. So you'd rather have it in the deck and pull it out with the Call to Arms than just have it in your hand.
It's okay for Dirty Rat for your quality clear.
Yes, that is true.
Just to clear one extra minion off. And there's the 2/1/1s back, along with the Dirty Rat. I am surprised he didn't go for Uther, though.
Kind of just fits, right? 9 mana, just swing for 5. But at the same time, actually, that's a lot of pressure. But you need to take into account that next turn, most likely you're going to be just an Obsidian Statue hard casted from the hand. So what do you do then, right? Do you just play Equality trade with one of the small minions?
Yeah, you
want
more value.
Option, right?
You want more value from Equality, though, right? That's when the Dirty Rat can come into play. Also, kind of playing around Obsidian Statue with these 1/1s now. It's like the kill only takes down the 1/1. That's pretty good.
Fantastic.
It's better than killing anything else in the deck.
So then Zoth is here for what purpose? We have Plated Beetles, and we have, of course, Stonehill Defender that can bring us Tyrions. Additional Tyrion. And the actual Tyrion, of course. But that's about it. And Loot Hoarders, sorry.
I think it's mainly for the Tyrion.
Yep.
More than anything.
But you can get 2 or 3.
Yeah. The rest of the pulls are mainly just for the defensive options against aggro with the more played beetles. But generally, yeah, you just want to chain Tyrians on someone. Which, if you add in the Uther weapon and plus a Tyrian, that's 30 damage just from weapons. Without the Rallying Blades.
It's quite a lot. Brace yourself. This will be a long match. As soon as first Obsidian statue comes into play and gets him like 12 HP, it's going to be kind of hard to reset.
Looking in general here, it looks like Bequiet is weighing up the horror just to get these minions out of the way so Obsidian statue doesn't just get like pinged, basically down with an equality. He does have 2 Eternal Servitudes though. Instead, going to clear the board and looks like he's setting up to just slam Yasharaj next turn.
I'm not sure if I like that. Ishar is just like asking for trouble because it will pull out multiple minions and then Paladin just goes for equality combo and he can manage to just get hit by Ishar and the other minion for like 1 turn.
Yeah, I don't know if you care that much though, right? Because there's double Eternal Servitude, which is more spells that'll then buff the Spellstone and then bring them all back again. So if Bequiet plays Yasharaj, it pulls another of the minions out, then there's options from Eternal Servitude, and you can choose which one's the most relevant, and then keep cycling, and hopefully after like wave 4 of gigantic minions, the Paladin's going to run out of juice.
Yeah, that's also a possibility. He doesn't have the turn in hand, so now he's thinking, should I keep at least 1 swing at this weapon and just, save it?
Yeah, I don't know if he needs to swing this turn.
But he has Relying Blade as well in his hand.
The problem is, from turn 10, your opponent's played no minions, right? There has to be minions soon. And from turn 10, how often are you expecting to be able to hit face freely, turn after turn? What will be crazy is if there's a second equality drawn. There can be equality clear hit, and hope that's enough. But here comes the Lich King. And anything from Lich King can make this game go very, very sideways.
That Stonehill Defender is also pretty cool. Now we can go Peacekeeper and Stonehill. Kind of style a little bit.
Still press hero power. You've seen 1 horror.
Yeah. So
the hero powers do have to be a consideration for Bequiet going forward. Yep. How sick would it be if Jarla just wins with hero powers so it gets the 4 horsemen off?
That would be pretty amazing. But we have to remember that Bequiet has a Dragonfire Potion and a Circle of Healing with Embrace the Shadows.
And the pain to do with the first one.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Just as a sort of a snap answer to say, okay, now you're 1 down again. This is where the game starts.
Oh,
I'll say now.
Dirty Rat.
Quality con.
Already? I'm a little bit surprised because he's really not like he's at 38 HP. He could have drawn out another minion from the Ishar to get more value.
I think he's hoping to kill him next turn.
I mean, we all know that there will be some minions resurrected, and he doesn't have an answer to deal with the second one.
He could do the same turn again, except only face down 1 minion. Here comes Barnes, though. Yes, sir.
Not something
he has to res a minion.
Well,
what do you res here? Do you go for Obsidian?
Obsidian, of course.
He could have not got Obsidian as an option, yeah.
Yeah, but then you have Lich King.
Yeah.
So there's always a taunt.
Look how close this is. If that was, say, second equality, you would have been 1 off.
Yeah. That music makes it so weird. It's like a comedy. But it's serious business right here. Quarterfinal of HCT Germany.
Mm-hmm. With this dream, Bequiet can actually do some weird things. He can actually dream back Barnes and replay it for even more copies.
That's a very common play and a very powerful play. Still has 1 Obsidian statue in the deck. Has also the Sarah. Has also...
I think that's it.
Yeah, you're correct. That's it. He's going low in time. Refuge. I didn't even see the far left option.
Nope. Couldn't have been good, though. Taran? Definitely not bad.
That's another answer that will be very helpful to all those big minions. Isar's being drawn, so
Guaranteed
Dream
obsidian.
Barnes gets you the obsidian.
Which is okay. A 1-1 that
awesome.
death rattles into killing an opponent's minion.
Yeah. And gets you a little bit of lifesteal at the same time. Now we're getting back to 10 HP, which is bonkers. And you just stabilize from this point. So Jarla needs a second equality. And that will be still like far away from the goal.
The problem here is... So let's say second equality comes off the top. Then there are really no good clears. Even Tarim isn't a clear, right?
Yep.
The minions are still in the
So
way.
you need board control.
Yeah. So there are no good clears after second equality. Equality is kind of needed for this board. But then Bequiet just plays Spellstone. And then what do you even do?
Yeah.
I'll hold my hands up. I actually don't know how Jarla wins this game. Not now he didn't manage to just sort of kind of overrun with Uther into Tyrion, into Nazoth, you know, and try and just punch through like that. I think that's what Jarla's thinking about now.
He kind of tries to find his win condition, but yikes. It's not an easy task, especially since he's kind of pushed to attack into those obsidian statues to kill them, and that just brings them up in HP.
Do you have to try and find a way to defend your horsemen as well as possible?
How do you want to do that? That's almost impossible. Especially with Isara being alive for 2 turns, with 2 dreams. There's
But you can still play them. If you dream it back into hand, that's better.
But there's a huge chance that will be just AoE for 5 damage,
Yeah.
and you know, it's kind of sad.
To kill the Stonehill. Oh, wait, what? Did you just end turn? Is that why the Stonehill's not green? Okay, he must have just snap pressed end turn. I thought because the Stonehill didn't go green, or didn't stay green, that it killed it, but he must have just pressed end turn really
I'm
quick.
just wondering why he's playing the Ragnar's just onto this board.
What else can he do? Pass? Like, that's the problem, right? There needs to be something that helps him out here. I
Honestly,
guess the idea is if the Ragnaros lives, then you can say hero power, Aldor, trade into the obsidian. It might miss Ragnaros. Ragnaros heals itself or whatever, and you build on that. It's very, very
But
different.
there's obsidian statue on the board that's guaranteed clear for... sorry, not guaranteed on the board, but with the array of options that the Big Priest has, that's almost a guaranteed clear anyway.
Sure, but you have to do something.
So sad. Like, even with, you know, the Lich King not giving anything, like the Amulet of Death is kind of pointless right now. Laughing Sister is not a powerful card, but just one Spellstone makes the entire game. It's just like, what do you do after a Spellstone is getting...
This is the issue, right?
back?
Because you can set up where you make as... I think this might be what Jarla's trying to do now. Let Bequiet have as big a board as possible, then Tarim, and then go into Pyro Consecrate the turn after to clear the 3 board, and then cross fingers again.
That's a far-fetched plan.
But it is a plan. I'm not saying it's a good one, but like I said, I've been struggling to work out exactly how Jarla wins, and that's he could just clear the board once, and maybe he can get there now that it's so late in the game. But
it's a very tough task for Jarla to actually do
that's-
anything relevant in this matchup after the breaking point.
yeah,
And that breaking point was a Shar that was destroyed immediately. And because of that, Jarla couldn't set up, let's say, Pyromancer, Equality, and Doomsayer. That would just help out maybe with getting some initiative on the upcoming turn.
he's not running Doomsayer.
Oh, right, because he's...
Yeah.
Oh, right.
That's why I mean, there are very limited options as to what Jarla
Because
can do.
That was like the setup in previous metagames when you were playing Doomsayer as a Contra Paladin. That was like the key against Big Priest. When you know that, well, if he doesn't have an answer to Doomsayer, then you just get a turn for yourself. But here, like, wow, this is so tough.
Oh, now Ysera awakens as well. Geist him again.
Yeah. That pin-size potion will never get back into the game. And look at that, 27 HP for Bequiet. He's just
Frostmourne too.
Hmm?
Frostmourne too is just that's actually just damage now.
Yeah,
It's
that's
actually just like.
burst.
Let's bear in mind that Jarla's swung 3 times with the hammer that gives him lifesteal and does 5 damage a pop, and Bequiet's on 27, like you said. Like, what do you? Where is the end?
Really, Obsidian Statue is one of the like almost obnoxious minions when it comes to the power level, but at the same time they're very limited to their usage. They have just a defensive tool.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not a big amount of pressure, but they kinda change the way you perceive the board state because of the death rattle, because of the lifesteal. You try different things to avoid the best use of the Obsidian Statue from the opponent. But the problem is, Big Priest, like, even if you go around 2 and just kill them or whatever, they just come back 5 times.
That's it. I mean, Big Priest was hard enough, but you could run them out. But then Spellstone came out, and that's just like... I don't think there's a deck with enough resources to beat it. Maybe like a heavily teched Dead Man's Hand warrior. You know, to just like brawl, clear, sleep with the fishes on, like just to try and repeatedly get rid of those. But even that's a tough ask.
The 2 bad matchups, I mean, maybe not bad, but kind of conflippy for the Big Priest in the past were Jade Druid and Razaku's Priest. And, you know, it went either way. It all did depend if the Big Priest did hit like a minion of 4, 5, right, or 6.
And I think now, if Jarla was playing, say, Secret Mage, and Bequiet was this slow early game when he whiffed on the Barnes, you could actually kill them at that point. You know, that's too slow, but he's not running a deck that's fast enough.
Kirin Tormage is just a fantastic oppressive creature. Just play him, then you have a counter spell or anything else that deals damage. So, an example, when Barnes getting played, it deals 2 damage to the face, kills the Barnes, you attack with the with your minions, and just go through.
Funny enough, Jarla is playing Secret Mage in his lineup, and he actually runs a Medivh in that list.
Oh,
That's
really?
very interesting. Yeah, as the top end. So, double Fylan's Medivh, but it looks like 1 Ice Block, 2 Counterspell, 2 Ruins. But yeah, not bad as a kind of game ender. As opposed to, say, the Pyroblast that a lot of people play.
It is interesting because Pyroblast comes hand in hand with Ice Block, while Medivh not so much. So it's interesting that he plays Medivh, but he plays the Ice Block, but at the same time, Ice Block is just a powerful card in its own.
Yeah, I think Ice Block's just good.
Yeah.
Because even if that 1 extra turn is drawing you a Fireball, great. You know, that could be the game. Well, Jarla is chipping away at this board slowly but surely. But now a dream can happen. No Spite Ridge Seed for you, friend.
Yeah, it's just
Push for another 9 at least.
so rough.
But he has, what, 14 with the Ysera Awakens as well? So next turn he just has lethal. Unless it's the taunt.
I mean, he can get Nightmare as well right now.
Yep.
Let's see.
Oh, and he has Death and Decay.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of burst damage. You can
Also-
even have 2 Laughing Sisters. Who cares at this point?
When you have Nightmare and an Obsidian Statue, you could just play Nightmare on Obsidian Statue, deal the additional damage, get more lifesteal, and then it dies and triggers the death run.
Yeah.
It's kind of nuts.
This is one of the outcomes that I was thinking about earlier as well, just with trying to get this Horseman ability down, is you put the Horseman behind Tarim and then say, well, it's as unlikely as possible that the Horseman dies. But how do you ever do that 4 times? Like, that's the issue, right?
Impossible.
So there's what, 8? Yep, that's just lethal. I went to count it and realized that he actually put Jarla down to 10. I was like, okay, yeah, never mind. That is going to be lethal. And Jarla, if it was me, would feel quite powerless in that game. That was definitely not the matchup he wanted to run into. And Bequiet goes up to a 1-0 lead with this Big Priest.
Even with a turn 5 Shadow Essence into Barnes.
It's fine.
Which was pretty sad, right? But even with that kind of missed hit, it was good enough to win the entire game because it never runs out of steam. The deck is just so
Didn't even use
packed with
Spellstone.
threats. Yeah, I mean,
Didn't even
2
cast
Servitudes, And that's about it. One Ashar, one Barnes. Didn't even play Dream on Barnes, right?
No, he didn't. He didn't bounce it.
Yeah. So it's like it's kind of tough to run out of steam with this deck unless you draw the reverse side of your deck and you have to play hard casted minions first.
Yeah.
And then Shadow Essence has like 0 usage because you have nothing in your deck.
But even then, you only ever really win if they don't rush you down, because that's the window you give them, right? By holding minions. But yeah, Bequiet off to a good start here. But that was a very good matchup, I feel, for him.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's not like a really missed opportunity for Jarla. It's a very tough matchup.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay to not win this one. Fortunately for Jarla, this is Conquest and not last hero standing when he would have to face the big priest again.
Yeah.
Right.
Although I think with this mage, you'd feel a lot better about that match.
For sure, but you know, suddenly a turn 3 Barnes happens and you're like, oh, okay. He got Ishar from the Barnes and then the Ishar brought Ishar and
yeah, there we go. Well, let's get into game number 2 as the guys are kicking it off now. It's going to be Jarla going on to his mage, Bequiet on the Murloc Paladin. Jarla, not the best opening draw to battle against this Murloc opening that Bequiet has. He has Frostbolt, fine, you can deal with this Tide Caller. But then the Medivh I mentioned earlier, which is a card I actually don't mind at all. It gives you just that extra little bit of value in the deck. But you don't need it against Murloc Paladin at this point. It's very scary to just have an 8-drop in hand, and he is going to clear off that Tide Caller pretty early on.
Well, to be fair, if he wouldn't play the Medivh, that would have been a Pyroblast. So that's even worse.
Or not. Some people don't run either. So you could say it would have been Firelands, but Firelands is significantly more immediately impactful.
But he runs double Firelands anyway.
Yes. Yeah, so... He's hard casting the secrets as well versus Murloc Paladin. You really just want... Even a Lackey would have been amazing. Runes does get value, though, because Murloc Paladin is so minion-focused that is going to go off more than likely the turn after you play it.
Bequiet is now assessing if it's worth to play the coin, because he knows that his opponent is running double counterspell. So the value of the coin is important if you have other spells that require, you know, playing around the coin. And in this case, you know, he has Call to Arms and Blessing of Kings and Divine Favor, one of that.
Yeah, I think it's
So
mainly
all
the
of those
Call to Arms.
Yeah, but Blessing of Kings too, right? And then one Spectre Seed. All of those cards are high value. So if you ever want to play a second one, because the first one needs to be counterspelled, that's a huge tempo loss. So keeping that coin is crucial. Oh, never mind. But in this case, it just goes for a lot of damage in trade.
Needed to soak up. This is the value of... He kept hold of the Righteous Protector there just to beat Ruins to a certain extent, or let something... You could throw away survive. I will say, though, that current Tormage was a huge pickup for Jarla. That dramatically changed the power level of his turn.
Yeah.
It's also really weird how Ruins works with Divine Shield minions.
Does it? For me, it kind of makes perfect sense.
In what way?
I mean...
I recently discovered it worked in a way I didn't think it did. It's the difference...
You thought it will deal additional damage to the minion, then kill it, and then deal 4 damage to the face?
No, I thought it always dealt 1, and then dealt the extra to the face. Like 1 damage to ping the shield, and then the extra to the face.
Okay.
It threw me off when it didn't do that.
I mean, Divine Shield kind of prevents the damage that is coming to the shield, right?
Yeah, but the way it works is it prevents the health total of the minion's damage. So it's really strange. But anyway, Valet is a nice, very nice usage here for killing off the War Leader. And able to either get that ping down, but if I'm Jarla, I'm taking a long, hard look at that 5-5 and just say, hey, suddenly my board is bigger than the Murloc Paladins in terms of stats. There's a small thought about do you ping off the Murloc because it's a Murloc, but it's a 5-5 to drop on the board.
And your opponent really played a War Leader.
Yeah, and you have no secrets to make it 0 anyway. So
Ooh,
that's
the poison.
That was the worst. That's what the consideration. That was the worst case scenario going on there.
Yep.
But Jarla is slowly edging towards this Medivh, which makes any spell he draws after infinitely more valuable. And with Mana Worm into Fireball onto the Megasaur, trading off the 1-1 Righteous Protector, that's a very solid setup to then help out with that. And there is still the counterspell. so the call to arms is unsafe.
Or the divine favor is just...
Yeah. At this point, you're not too worried about divine favor. There might be a chance that actually Bequiet uses divine favor, depending on his draw.
So no mana of him and ping instead. What if he
Takes
takes
the
a
shield
Finance Portal instead?
He could always wait, play Fylands after Medivh.
Yeah.
That's insane. You could just flip the board pretty easily, but this is fine. He's probably going to be able to play Mana Worm next turn
We
anyway.
have Wind Fury, Poisonous, and +1/+1. Went for the Wind Fury.
Yeah, with Tarim in hand, that seems pretty good. 6 damage, Murloc.
That gives a lot of information to Jarla, since if it's Blessing of Kings, then first Divine Favor or this Secret needs to be played. Then the Secret is the perfect answer to a counter spell.
Yeah. Instead of playing 1 Mana Worm, he gets to play 2 this turn. But he has to trade into this Murloc. This is nice and clean, though. Certainly Tyrant. This is a pretty dead hand, actually.
And the Divine Favor is now even worse, so I would actually consider playing the Divine Favor into the counter spell.
One of my issues here with Divine Favor is, are you waiting for them to play a Luneth so you can play Divine Favor? Because although you get to play it and use the cards quicker, because they draw at the end of the turn, you'll draw at the start, is that really what you're waiting for? Because if they draw a Luneth, you're probably dead very quickly anyway. And speaking of which...
Look at that.
This is such a weird choice now.
I think I would still play Medivh. You already saw 2 Megazords, so you don't really rely on pinging those Murlocs that much. And it's just, you can always use the weapon to kill the other Murloc.
That's true. My worry is if you play Medivh and then you end up a Luneth in earlier, you played an 8 mana 7/7 when you could have drawn 3 cards and pinged. That's the, yes, you kill a Murloc, of course, but
Yeah.
that is an unfun turn.
You can always use Medivh when you're kind of worried where Alonef will just kill you in fatigue, but at the same time, this match will end way fast.
Exactly. That's one of the benefits and one of the positives of running Medivh. You will not you will not overdraw and kill yourself into fatigue late game. But as you said, I don't think this game will go late game. One way or the other, Bequiet will either overrun the board or Jarla will just kill him with the spells because Paladin has no way to heal.
Yeah.
Well, this Paladin has no way to heal, should I say?
Now that Tarim is insane.
Sick.
Insane, because now Jarla's in a position where, I need to play Alonef, and I just lost the entire value out of Medivh. Medivh was kind of pointless in this case.
I did wonder whether it was better the other way around. It's very easy to say because we knew Tyrion was there. But you go a Luneth and ping a Murloc, right? So you've removed a Murloc. That's nice. You draw 3, then you can make a decision on, do you use your next turn to play some removal or burn? If you want to try and play a longer game, you then can play Medivh and have cards to combo with Atiesh afterwards.
Yeah. I know, but the problem is that this Paladin is so board-centric that if you wait 1 turn with your 7/7, not only you wait 2 turns for spells to have effect with the weapon, but also, like, apart from the fact that he just lost.
Yeah.
It's so tempo-based, and you exactly see this here, right? So I don't think Alonef before the Medivh was a correct choice, because let's say he top decks a Firelands Portal next turn. Suddenly he switches the entire tempo play of the game, right? Because he's able to get a 7-drop, kills a minion, and gets a 5-drop.
Yeah.
Fireball top deck is almost at the same power level as a Firelands Portal at that point, right? So I think it was correct to play Medivh first, just because of that.
Yeah, my only worry is if you draw anything that isn't a reasonably mana-costed spell, you bust at that point.
But he was already kind of busted if he doesn't get a minion on board, right?
I don't know, when you're drawing 4 cards a turn, that's kind of nuts. You go into Ice Block and then just go into damage and kill them. You might not even need Medivh at that point. But it doesn't matter. The game is over. And it is going to be Bequiet going up 2-0 versus Jarla. Jarla definitely the favorite from past experience and on paper. Bequiet definitely getting the work done. And here's one of another of Bequiet's interesting decks, which is the Mage. And this is, I'll say, Dragon Fury Mage, but not the usual list.
Yeah.
This has N'Zoth, this has Syndragosa, which makes me very happy indeed. and a Pyros mainly because of this N'Zoth. Curator is used to pull the Ravens, so you draw late game and not early game, and it thins your deck out. So, this is a bit of a different version, and I'll say, I'm sure someone will correct me on Twitter or in Twitch, the first time I saw this list, I think Tic Tac made this, or at least he was the first person I saw post it, and I know he's played a lot of this list. So I'm sure he'll let us know who created it, whether it was him or someone else. But definitely a cool list. The one I've not got personally around to trying. But when you're rocking Syndra Ghoster in a deck and winning with it is definitely something I can get behind.
I don't think I actually saw Syndra Ghoster being played in a competitive match yet. Sorry, didn't cast a game.
No, me neither. Yeah. Oh, hang on. I think it's come out of... what did it come out? Oh, yeah. I think it's only come out of...
Free from Amber?
Yeah, stuff like that. I don't think I've actually seen...
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen the eggs before.
Oh my god. I mean, he always had like the Primordial Glyph as well, but this is just sick. Frostbolt to kill a 2/3, get the buff, deal the damage. Although I think maybe... Nah. You just want to use the Frostbolt, right?
As opposed to what were you thinking of?
Just Primordial Glyph into something that you can play instead.
Yeah, I was going to say, the joy of playing against this type of mage, you don't need to counterspell this turn. Because there's nothing that's realistically going to be coming out. Like, yes, they could play Ice Block.
They can play Coin.
Sure. But, you actually want the coin to be used before you counterspell, because all of the spells in this control mage are actually so relevant and so important to the deck. You can't just... Dragon's Fury and it be counterspell, then you probably just lose in a lot of these matchups. But I think I like the Frostbolt here. It feels bad to play off curve, but I think it's just fine.
I mean, Frostbolt at one point was for 3 mana.
Was it?
Yeah.
Is that early beta? Because I played in beta and it wasn't 3.
Was. It was at 2 mana, then it got nerfed to 3 mana, and then it got reversed to 2 mana.
Oh,
better.
3 mana? Damn.
I mean, even at 3 mana, it was still a decent card.
It's like Fiery War Accident.
It wasn't as powerful as 2 mana because it feels like for 2 mana it feels like a very powerful class card. For 3 mana it was like a mediocre card.
And then you look at all the combinations with spells and stuff, right? And like Freeze Mage, for example. But let's look at this turn. Very easy kill off of Pyros with the Arcanologist and this Glyph into potentially Medi's Valet or something from Glyph to help. Maybe even a secret would be nice. When you're not at the point where you just Glyph into burn to kill them, I do like secrets from this because it just throws another unknown factor. And as the deck lists are revealed, everything about the list is known apart from what comes out of these additional generated cards.
I love the Spellbender from the Glyph, since your opponent might be tricked into playing the coin to check for the counter spell, and then he's like, okay, it's not a counter spell, so I'm going to play the Polymorph. And suddenly, oh, okay, I polymorphed the Spellbender.
And speaking of testing, right, this is huge. Jarla knows Bequiet has the coin, of course. He's played a secret. So now if Jarla feels the need to clear, he has to try and coin first. He's going to coin into nothing because he's played Ice Block. But now he can test. So all this little back and forth there. And the Polymorph wasn't even the end of the world. If the Polymorph doesn't go off because of Counterspell, then you are fairly sure your Dragon's Fury next turn will go off instead. And you hold the coin for a second secret if one gets played. This is a strong turn, though.
I have to say, Bequiet with that Polymorph, as you explained perfectly, this is the way he sets up the most obvious turns for him to not lose the game when he will be rushed down by multiple minions.
Guaranteed Dragonfire.
Exactly. It can be still, don't get me wrong, the Dragonfire can deal 3 damage, and that might be not enough for the minions, like an example, Cabal Crystal Runner.
And just a quick note, we've talked about this a lot on how these control mages are built, but there is 2 ice blocks in Bequiet's list. So a lot of players have been going down to 1 just to make it as unlikely as possible. But there's only 2 ice blocks and no arcane intellect.
Correct.
Now the choice here is if Jarla wants to go kind of all in, Kirintor Mage, into Counterspell, and he can play the Crystal Runner to try and dodge that 3 damage so it stays alive. But instead, he's just gone for the Crystal Runner and said, well, okay, if you want a Dragon's Fury, fine.
I like this play.
But I'm not... Well, the Crystal Runner might not die for a start, and then he loses a 1-1 and a 2-1 to Dragon's Fury. okay, and then he has the refill of Kirin Tor Mage, Medivh Valley, and the counterspell.
This is something that you have to do as a aggro player. I mean, not an aggro as an archetype, but you're the beatdown currently in this matchup. But you have to, let's say, divide your wave threats, right? So you need to have a wave of threats, every single turn, so you always can deal consistent damage. And if you just go for Kirin Tor Mage, Counterspell, and then play Crystal Cabal Runner, you would most likely lose your damage output in the that hurts.
It's happened to all of us that run this deck.
Yep.
You hit for 3, and now just 5 damage. If that Crystal Runner hits once, which it will do now, that is a huge hit there. 5 damage that very likely wasn't going to be taken that turn if the Dragon's Fury hit anything else. There was still a Polymorph as well that wouldn't have killed it. So there's 1 Polymorph, 2 Ice Blocks to hit. But then there's the other Dragon's Fury, 2 Meteors,
2 Flame Strikes,
2 Blizzards, 1 Flame Strike, because one's in his hand.
Oh, yeah, right.
But still, that's still a lot of spells. So it was more likely to hit than it wasn't. Didn't happen, though. Bequiet is doing a good job of just holding onto this coin, though. At any time, he can get a spell off when needed.
What to do?
So why is Jarla still waiting for his Primordial Glyph? What do you think?
I think he's just used his mana, more or less, every single turn, anyway. And
I mean, this turn, an example. You can start with the Primordial Glyph to see what you get. Maybe it's an Arcane Intellect.
he might go the other way and want the Glyph as a situational choice when he knows what he needs.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if your opponent, if Bequiet drops Doomsayer, he might Glyph an answer to Doomsayer. Like Polymorph is better than Glyphing now. You would never pick Polymorph right now if you Glyphed.
Right. Now, this counter spell, I have to say, it's also pretty neat, even when you know that there's a coin, but you play around the Flame Strike.
Yeah. And again, looks small, but the 2/3 survives a Blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
Everything dies to a Meteor, but all you're doing is making your opponent's turns as awkward as possible.
Well, even with the Meteor, he would have to waste the coin.
Yes, yeah. He still uses it up, yeah. And the Blizzard, of course. Here comes the Doomsayer. 5 damage on board through minions, 6 with a ping.
Is that lethal?
And there's
12 damage.
He could Glyph.
So, Glyph first.
Well, at this point, there's no Ice Block up. He's never killing that Doomsayer no matter what.
Yeah, but if he gets a... Wait, there's no Ice Block, so if he gets a Frostbolt, that's lethal, right?
Yes. Or even a... oh, God. Geyser? Oh, Geyser? Sorry, not Geyser. Geyser.
Flame Gazer, I mean.
Yeah.
That's 2 damage.
That's enough, though, right?
Yeah, that's enough. Deck of Wonders?
Deck of Wonders, go. Ooh.
Oh.
I definitely picked Deck of Wonders there just to see how badly it's going to mess me up.
And it's like a Seed Story Cup thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, ask Aka Wonder or RDU. Pretty sure it's that match.
So he does set up the lethal for next turn, even when the board gets cleared.
This is, yeah, you either block and probably get damage taken anyway and get the block procced, or you clear and you die.
Yeah.
Very nice setup here from Jarla.
I really wanted to see the Deck of Wonders.
No, he does. Even if he picked it, he wouldn't have drawn any.
All right, well, Jarla gets back on the horse. First game in his books.
Hey, if Dragonfire would have hit for more than 3, or 4, should I say, he would have cleared and been on 5 extra health right now.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have been pushed to clear the Crystal Runner again.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing.
Yeah,
he had to use the polymorph on the 5-2, right? Was that the case? The second polymorph was played on the 5-2?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of awful.
But it's the fact he just took 5 damage.
Yep.
It's huge. He would have been safe from that fireball at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the kind of risky play because ice block at least one of is very, very important, mainly because you run a card called Jaina. If you have ice block up, it gives you a safe Jaina turn.
Yep.
So I think you have to run at least one, but it does mess you up sometimes. Bequiet is still in a strong position. He's 2-1 up. Jarla is beginning to fight back though, taking a win there with his mage. But I feel like his mage is the best position deck to do stuff versus Bequiet's lineup.
Let's see. now he will be pushed to play the Dragon Priest against this mage and the
Paladin.
Paladin, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Paladin is a control Paladin. So that might be tricky as well.
That's what I think. The Paladin's the deck he has to win with. He obviously has to win with all of his decks, but the struggle, should I say, because the Paladin is just, well, when two polymorphs exist, all the board clears exist. Yes, the Paladin has N'Zoth, but guess what? So does Bequiet. And there's still Alex Straza, Sindragosa for even more value. It's going to be toasty and an interesting game if we get to it, but let's see first, because Bequiet is going to be going against Jarla's Priest. And Jarla's Priest is going to be the Dragon Priest with the Divine Spirit and Inner Fire. There's one Silence, one Circle of Healing. Everything else as standard as you can imagine.
Fortunately for Bequiet, he's running double polymorph in his deck. I mean, as almost every single control mage. But that's the key card against all those Divine Spirits, unless Jarla sets up a lethal push or Icebreak push with a huge minion already that's on the board before, attacks, basically.
Yeah. That's it, right? What you want to do here as Jarla is you'll probably want to be looking at just hoping a minion sticks, like an operative or, whatever. It doesn't really matter. And it's more on Bequiet's end to decide whether he's okay with that minion living.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Bequiet answers every single minion on the board that's left, then Jarla never has to play Divine Spirit in a Fire until there's a minion that's alive, right?
And
never
at
has
some
to
point
force
it's
into
going to
it.
stick, right?
Yeah, and at some point it's going to stick. And Bequiet has to choose whether he can take it or not. And a lot of that is going to come down to Ice Block. Once he has an Ice Block up, you can't make... Well, you can make a 22-22 or whatever, hit for lethal, but then you prop the Ice Block on 22. Which then, if there's a removal that comes down, like Polymorph, how then do you do that extra 22 damage all over again?
Ooh, Bequiet might be tempted to play the Doomsayer. Because there's only one answer in the entire deck, and that's silence.
Yeah.
Apart from damage, of course.
Yeah, there's like kind of 3 because of Shadow Visions potentially into silence. So, kind of more than one exact card, but yes, there's only one real answer.
Now it's actually not that bad for Jarla, because he can... That might be an interesting turn. He can just go for the Cleric, heal his Talon Shadow Priest, get 2 card draws, and then play the silence.
I really like this. The Cleric being on 6 is huge. Because, like you said, you draw a card, you silence the Doomsayer. And also, what's a bit of a problem with this Doomsayer? Is, if I am looking right, Jarla is playing the 1 Potion of Madness.
Mm-hmm. And
I've killed someone with their own Doomsayer before.
That. Yeah, that's fantastic.
So now, Bequiet has to consider this Doomsayer being on the board. He has to hope for some big Dragon's Furies.
Yeah, the Dragon Fury for 7 is a big deal.
Yeah. And there we go. Look at the respect. The polymorph this early in the game on an Acolyte, and it didn't soak Power Word Shield. It didn't soak anything. All it did was a Talon Priest on curve. Like, sick. There's one polymorph gone.
Let's say you don't have Elemental, but your opponent has Shield into Divine Spirit into Inner Fire. That's actually 16 damage. That's 20 damage from the board next turn.
Yeah. As well with the push from the Talon Priest. Oh, this dude. If I'm Bequiet, I'm staring at this Doomsayer. Don't do it, friend. Don't do it.
Who does Inner Fire?
It's already Divine Spirit and a Fire. And I wonder how heavy Bequiet goes on this removal. Because so far, there's not a Twilight Drake down, right? And now, the highest minion has 4 health. But he still has to consider Doomsayer. And there's still... Stupid things can still happen with, say, Radiant Elemental, Powered Shield, Divine Spirit, and a Fire. So any minion is a threat that has more than, say, 1 health. But can he just play Dragon's Fire this turn? I don't know. Because if he does, great. Jarla's now, 1 Polymorph gone, 1 Dragon's Fury gone.
It's a hard decision. Like, you're not taking that much damage, just 5. You can kill the sheep as well. Then you just pass the turn without doing anything. At the same time, the Artificer is one of those cards that allows you to just reset the board and still regain the health that you kind of lost during stalling. So that's not that terrible. The ultimate goal for Bequiet would be getting to the Jaina and controlling the board from that point. But the thing is, something that we explained earlier, is that you have to have a free turn, basically, to play the Jaina. If your opponent has something that sticks on the board that has, let's say, 5 or 6 HP, that's a huge problem. Just probably cannot allow yourself to get hit by potentially, a big truck after you play the Jaina.
Yeah, and even getting to that point, the problem here is Bequiet could die next turn if he just pings passes. He could actually just die. He is going to do it because you cannot. There has to be decision points. You have to decide when you can just say, okay, if he has it, he has it. This is the earliest in the game that he could have it, so therefore the most unlikely that he has. But it's tough. It's definitely scary.
If he plays the Dragonet Operative, that is just drawing a Dragon's Fury. 100%.
I actually just like healing and drawing again. Maybe play a Tar Creeper. Go into Doomsayer heal. Because all you want to do is make him think you're cycling through your deck, Potion of Madness, Divine Spirit, go on that Doomsayer. I want Bequiet to be very afraid of that Doomsayer. As opposed to... Because if the Doomsayer draws out Dragon's Fury, then your Operative's more free, right? Because then you can play it afterwards. There's one more gone. I love this play from Jarla.
Ooh. That is amazing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. That's a
Just going to make an 8-8 going into turn 6.
So he wants to see a second polymorph because
Look at that! Almost
Nice
as fast as the turn started, it's like go.
I don't think if Jarla didn't just pull the trigger kind of too fast.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because if you play Tar Creep in that instance, what's your opponent going to do? That's a 5 health minion there.
yeah.
It gets a little bit scary. I'm not sure the idea around the 8-8 is there.
Especially since your opponent has that Doomsayer still on the board. If you get one Shadow Vision and you get that Potion of Madness, then you have potentially 14 damage just sitting there on the board.
You still chip him for 3 with that Talon Priest.
Yeah. And you could have just played the Talon Priest now instead, build up your other Talon Priest to 7 or the Cleric to 6 so you can still draw and draw and draw.
And it's
no, sorry. The 7 is way better.
Yes.
The 7 is way better, so it's better to play on the Talon Priest, not get it killed unless there's Flame Strike from Dragon's Fury.
And then you're okay because you've not played Inner Fire.
Yeah. It's an interesting turn. We'll have to ask him if he wins. I mean,
I'm going to ask him if he loses. I will, confess, I am no expert on this deck. It's definitely it's a deck I've played a good chunk of, but nowhere near enough to be super confident about the intricacies of this matchup, for example.
I know the reason why he played it, because he saw one polymorph already, right?
Also, as well, I did mention earlier about the issues with time. Bequiet hasn't played an Ice Block yet. He probably doesn't have Ice Block in hand because he would have played it. The second he does play Ice Block, suddenly, a 30-30 doesn't matter. Yeah, you prop the block and kill him over 2 turns, but you can never do other damage to him. So if that minion is then removed with Polymorph or any other combination of cards, then you don't really have a way to catch up that damage.
Yeah.
So it's not random or anything. It just surprised me, that's all.
I would love to see actually the heal on the Doomsayer, just to keep it alive.
Also, you're getting to the point where, and we saw it yesterday with the Jaina game, where you don't really want a pingable target for Bequiet, because he's getting to the point where he can play Jaina, and then it's all about elementals, because what Bequiet can then do is just use his elementals to freeze out the minions.
Honestly, I think Temporis is... I honestly
think
think so.
Sol will be going nuts right now. It will be going bonkers.
This is the one matchup when I think having Temporis actually can win you the game. The mage is so slow that he might not have...
You're not going to die, let's be honest.
Exactly. Like, he might not have enough to push the damage for lethal. So just play Temporis, your opponent gets 2 turns, and then you just play a big minion, buff it with the combo, you swing.
And I'm winding you up about it, but what's the highest damage output? Alex Straza into what? In terms of what he can do with what the mage can do with 2 turns.
That's about it.
Yeah, so you I don't know what world you could possibly die if you play Temporis on 28 health, of course, with nothing really on board.
But he needs the Divine Spirit and Inner Fire on it. And currently he used both of those cards. So he still has 2 Shadow Visions in his deck and one of each of Divine Spirit and Inner Fire. But this Temporis waits for that moment when you get them. But I think it is correct. It's a correct pick in this situation. I love that he actually nabbed it.
The lack of Shadow Visions is really hurting Jarla, I feel. He's such limited options because he can't just tutor for one. Especially now that I'm pretty sure he's just running low on spells in his deck. There's Powered Shields we've not seen, but there's the one circle. We've seen the Silence. There's the Potion of Madness. 2 Powered Shields, but it would only show 1 anyway, of course. Divine Spirit and a Fire.
Yeah.
I think that's all of them.
Why Pyromancer?
He's going to want to kill off that Artificer, but that's very easy to do. Ooh, gain his own. Not that he has big spells to use, but... Meteor. Good answer to Alexstrasza, good answer to, say, Curator, to maybe not that good against...
Here we go. I really like this circle.
What's the name? Oh, what's the name? I forgot. Syndragus. Oh, there's a nice block.
Still one left in the deck, right? Can be still a 3 damage pickup.
Bequiet's like, you stung me last game, Dragon's Fury. Don't do it again, please.
I'm honestly kind of surprised that the Twilight Drake didn't get healed again with the hero power. No way! The second Ice Blow just got triggered. 3 damage over the board, and that is a disaster.
So there's 12 damage. Just, sorry, not 12. What am I talking about? 10, because the Tar Creeper. This Powered Shield could help prot the block here.
Oh my god. I was thinking it's going to be M. There's a Potion of Madness for the Doomsayer in the future.
If the Doomsayer matters now, Circle of Healing's been used, right?
I mean, he can heal it up with his hero power.
It's going to take a lot of hero powers, Lothar. Temporis number 2, give him 4 turns. Officially, it goes 2-2-2-2.
Yeah.
Just so you know. Excuse me.
So his opponent is at 9, has the Ice Block, use both Dragon Furies. And this is really looking rough for Bequiet.
I think this has to be a Snap Jaina now. Oh, he's going for Flame Strike Ping.
Yeah, I don't mind this, since if he kills the Dragon Operative with the ping, there's almost no chance that the opponent will break the ice that turn. Okay. Unless... No, that's actually no chance.
Okay.
Especially with the Circle of Healing gun.
Mm-hmm. This potentially gives him a much safer Jaina going forward, but now what does he pick? He can draw a dragon, the Curator. But his Ice Block just too good.
Yeah, you don't pass on the Ice Block. It's going to mess up your opponent so much. You play a Secret from Mage Array, which is like insane arsenal. So how do you play around the counter spell?
Well, Operative takes from the deck, right?
Yeah,
so it's
right.
only Ice Block. Yeah. But still, it's an additional turn, and sometimes in these very combo-heavy decks, you only need one more turn to get the job done.
There's Syndragosa.
See, this was the weird thing about the Jaina gets procced anyway now. That was my worry. If you play Jaina last turn, then you have a potential Flame Strike Ping afterwards to get additional Water Elementals. You have 2 on the board. Then you can Alex yourself, if needed. So I thought the Jaina and wait for the Flame Strike would have gained you more in the long run.
You might be right.
But now, You can play the generate your own pings game with Syndragosa as the draw. And then the game goes crazy mode because it's just let random legendaries get involved.
Problem is, he needs to survive, so Alexstrasza needs to be played next turn. Then he kills the Twilight Drake or anything else that is on the board.
Can he get rid of this elemental?
Well, he can inner
Meteor
fire,
it, right?
inner fire. No, that makes no sense.
I think you just meteor it. Get it gone. You don't want him to heal anything next turn. Or you want the odds as low as possible. Just get rid of the elemental. Don't give him good pings either. Now he needs, like, what, Blizzard? To ping off the plated beetle. But if he does that, I mean, he's still very, very low health. Alexstrasza, unsafe.
It's 11 damage already staring at him.
Yeah.
4 damage more.
Powered shield. You can potentially give him additional draws as well. But the fact that there's a Divine Spirit in a fire is very, very, very scary here. And Dark Reaper. Oh wait, yeah, this is lethal. I forgot about that. The Twilight Acolyte to steal, create Alexstrasza, go back up to 8. Boom, and Jarla fights back. Bequiet losing 2 games in a row with this control mage. I will say 2 of those games have come from the whiffs, I'll call it, from the double Dragon's Fury across 2 games into the ice blocks. Definitely rough there.
Yeah, that is unlikely to happen as well, especially since he had already, in the second game, he had his ice block already in his hand. So there was only 1 ice block left in the deck, 2 blizzards, 1 flame strike, and something else.
Was it the Firelands?
Not sure about it.
Okay, so...
Yeah, well, anyway, it was the ice blocks were kind of game deciding in this case because for both cases they couldn't. In first case, it was 5 damage that mattered for that fireball.
Yeah.
In the first game, in the second one, it was actually more. It was Dragon Operative, Twilight Drake, and something else on the board. So that was more than 9 damage that was firing at him. So it was kind of rough.
Yeah, I think there was, to look back, I think there was an idea of actually just playing that Jaina. The ice block gets procced with Jaina, but then the elemental's still there. And then you can potentially flame strike ping for the elemental. Or Alexstrasza yourself, but you just have the same options. Yeah. Except you have a flame strike with Jaina equipped, as opposed to not having a flame strike ping potential. But we'll see what happens. Bequiet's just stepped away for a second, just for a quick bathroom break, which is completely fine.
Those games are long.
Yeah. If you bring Control Mage to a tournament, you need to be fully prepared for maybe the odd bathroom break, because the matches naturally do go quite long, especially when your opponent isn't bringing, say, raw aggro, and you can just decide the game on turn 5, 6, 7.
Sometimes they're getting drugged out anyway. I'm just still thinking, like, how much does it make sense to play the Syndragosa on this deck and, the Curator? Like,
we never lose the value game.
Yeah, but at the same time, the deck is already very powerful late game without those cards as well, right?
It's mainly the N'Zoth, right?
I know.
You get so much value from the N'Zoth.
But we have seen versions without the N'Zoth, and they were just good anyway. I know it's a more end heavy, but it's an interesting deck because Control Mage was a deck that always kind of waited to make to be created by someone, right? But it was always pointing towards the Freeze Mage version, which is the more burst just control deck, right? And in this case, we have like a proper control deck, and it's a challenge to find the proper end game for a metagame call, right?
Yeah, especially this much of a fresh metagame.
Yeah, it's like Freeze Mage doesn't really rely on metagame calls that much, since it has a specific goal what to do. You just have burst.
Yeah.
And that's about it. And you always do the burst in the same way, either with Antonites or not. In case of control decks, they need to find correct answers to the metagame that they play in, and that means you might use different endgame creatures, you might use different mid-game answers to the minions that are being played. An example, in Priests, you might not use Dragon Potion because there are too many dragons, an example. That's a metagame call. So it's interesting to see which Jaina version would be the best as a control deck after the metagame settles.
Yeah. We'll see what happens, but we are going to get into the last game of this series one way or another. It's going to be the Control Paladin from Jarla versus Bequiet's Mage for the third time. Can the Control Paladin get there? This is one of the matchups where you're feeling pretty good about cards like Sindragosa, like N'Zoth, like... oh my god, I've just gone Pyros. Sorry, I was going to say like the Phoenix. But yeah, like Pyros. Just for the raw value you get. We saw Jarla very much struggled with Paladin versus Bequiet's Big Priest earlier on in the series, the first game in fact. But this is a little bit different. This is going to be much more of a straight-up value battle.
And this is where Sindragosa comes in with the N'Zoth. Right?
Yeah.
At the same time, Jaina just provides so much value out of herself that maybe that was good enough as well.
Yeah, the one thing is, especially with Uther, it means that the pings aren't as effective versus Paladin, because normally you just stop Paladin hero powering when you've equipped Jaina. But it won't quite work the same way, and Jarla already has Uther available, ready to go. As Arthas asks, what would Uther do? Well, we're probably going to find out pretty soon. Jarla working out exactly how he wants to follow up with this Pyros and which 3-drop he wants to play. He can just gain additional taunt with the Stonehill, but does the Stonehill do too much? It's not exactly a threat on the board, but it gives him another Tyrion, which is almost undoubtedly going to be the pick here. He's going to get the damage in
for the
instead of trade.
For the value game that you mentioned.
Yeah, pretty decent, I've heard.
Yeah, pretty decent. I heard that's a good move.
And now he's just getting the damage in with the Loot Hoarder because this Pyros can't really get to it anymore. And if their ping comes down on turn 3, then Jarla's probably going to see it as a victory. Effectively got 2 free damage there. Oh, some of these cards could be big, though. Dirty Rats. Pulling Sindragosa out, for example.
Alex
No
Straza.
X. Yeah, Alex Straza as well. Even Curator, it's less value, right?
Zoff. Zoff is
Tons
the
of big
best
pulls. So it wouldn't surprise me if we're going to see, say, double Dirty Rat Pyro equality or along those lines.
Pyro for a tempo play? Oh, I would have been surprised to see that. Especially since you know that your opponent is running like the end game, late game heavy control deck. So having the Pyromancer ready with equality in the hand is super important.
Yeah, I think this follow-up's probably going to be... is he going to play it? Okay.
Interesting.
Okay, wants to pile on a bit of the pressure. This is a turn before Dragon's Fury would naturally come out, and also this is such a small board for Dragon's Fury. Bequiet does have to consider the fact that there are, as we've mentioned a couple of times, there are Tyrions, there's the Tarim turn he has to be aware of for usage of Dragon Fury. There are big push threats available for Jarla. But Jarla now is kind of thrown away for the moment, at least, as a quality value. Probably doesn't need it quite yet, though.
Well, he's running double consecrations, right? So there's also just possibility to use it with the consecration instead of the Pyromancer. The problem is it's more expensive in mana. So that might make a difference if you'd like, for example, follow up with a Skulking Guys after that, or with a Spikerid Steed if you had some Death Rattle effect on the board.
Yeah. Or just a minion if you're playing Consecrate.
Yeah.
Which path to choose?
Rallying Blade just into this beetle is very straightforward and pushes an additional 3, which already what we've seen from Jarla has been his overall game plan. He's just trying to eke out as much damage as possible early on. So maybe you can put pressure on with this Ashbringer with the weapon from Uther as well. That's 30 total damage with weapons just from the 2 cards in hand, and there's an actual core Tyrion in the deck still as well. And this is just awkward, right? Like, what does Bequiet do to deal with this Pyro? There's nothing that feels that great. Like, Doomsayer, okay. Double Dirty Rat go.
That is quite a move, I would have to say, but I will hate it, absolutely hate it to see it, because if it pulls out Sindragosa, I'll be very sad. I just want to see it
You want to
played.
see you want to see
I really
Syndragosa
want
play.
to see it being played. But if he goes for the Dirty Rat and it pulls up like an Artificer, then he might be even more tempted to play the second one. But if he, at the same time, if he pulls out the Pyro, then he definitely wants to play the second one.
Yeah. The pulls are actually all pretty reasonable, to be honest. There are better than others, obviously Syndragosa. Even Pyros means that you don't, although you give him a 10-10, you miss the 6th version of him, right? Like, Bequiet could be looking at playing Pyros next turn because he's setting up this Doomsayer.
Yep.
So you could just say, actually, no. Now you've got to wait till turn 10 and then I'll equality clear.
There's
See what happens.
Artificer. So that is a little bit painful. Didn't pull a lot of value with the Dirty Rat.
In the long game, it could be important.
And it pulls the Curator.
Okay. Still can push for 4 damage.
Oh,
Oh, sorry, he can't. Curator's not,
Yeah.
obviously. It should even attack
I was
first
a little,
then.
I was a little surprised. Like, if he wants the Doomsayer to go off, there's no reason to not attack first, since there's no Death Rattle effect that you need to kill first.
Yeah, there's nothing you want to kill on board, right? Versus a Doomsayer. So, yeah, that's maybe a slight slip there from Jarla. And the Pyros does come down. There's the setup did work from Bequiet. He did lose his Curator, so lost some of his draw power and his turn 7. But you can always coin into Syndragosa for you, Lothar.
Let's go. Oh, I'm super happy to see that. I would love to see it.
One thing that I do enjoy, and I think Hearthstone does at least a decent job of, is cards might not always be good, but they're good sometimes. Like, Syndragosa has been out since the Lich King, and it's not been played. Now it's been played in the first HCT tour stop of the year.
Uh-huh. I mean, that's something that applies to every single card game. You have fringe cards, and you have, meta game choices, and you have cards that are just strictly bad.
Just nice when those cards are cool.
Yeah.
As we see Syndragosa hit the board.
Woo!
Couple of eggs. All the death rattles in the world. Now, this makes AoE really weird as well for Jarla. You don't really want to give Bequiet those the legendaries for free.
Well, you can kill both of them and then play a quality Pyromancer, or either the other way. So
They go into hand.
What would Uther do?
So you can do. You are completely right, Lothar. You can do that.
Yeah.
But
it's fantastic.
but you give them the 2 legendaries in hand without. You really want Bequiet to have to ping those.
Yep.
Or Dragon's Fury, for example. But if he pings them, it's a cost of 2 mana and 1 per turn. So there's a delay, effectively.
I mean, still. Tyrion doesn't seem too bad, actually.
Act now.
Yeah, pulls a ping away from the 0/1s.
What would
We can see that it's going to suck because of Polymorph.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't just not play it. You can't be like, he runs Polymorph. I won't play my Tyrion until he's played 2 Polymorphs, because guess what? Bequiet isn't going to play them until Tyrion hits the board anyway. This might be the game that's just too much for Jarla, because already there's so much pressure. There's no silence in Jarla's control paladin, so he can't even deny any of this.
Shifter Zerus.
It's just a best legendary in the game, because it's every legendary in the game.
So you can multiply the dust cost of it by
Yeah.
every single legendary in the game, or in standard.
And then if it's golden,
Woo! That is like the most expensive card in the game.
it's one thing that's slightly disappointing me about Bequiet's list is that he's not crafted Syndragosa in gold. I don't really think that if you bring in Syndragosa to a tournament, you craft that in gold every time.
Okay, then.
Now this is a problem. These ice. I'm going to call them ice blocks. You know what? Let's do this the actual way. Well, I can't remember the exact name. Frozen Champion. I apologize. These Frozen Champions make AoE really awkward, in that you want your opponent to ping, but now Jarla might be forced to clear the board, and this is such an early state to be using inequality. Jane is not even down yet. There's still 2 legendaries after. Sorry, 3, because Pyros will go in as a 10/10 in hand as well, if this board is cleared.
And there's like you mentioned the Pyros already, but in general there's still Zoth.
Oh yeah, this isn't even remotely close to everything that Bequiet's got.
And it's 26 HP for the mage. Wow, that's a pretty bad legendary.
And Bequiet, you can see there, just taking it slow. There's no real need to do anything too crazy. Not even going to bother with the Doomsayer yet.
Shift the Zeros with the Elemental.
Yeah, not quite good enough.
There's a lot of hits, good hits, and low hits
Yeah.
in Shift the Zeros.
Good enough for Bequiet, though. He's in no rush in this game. I'm pretty sure even after the Dirty Rats, he's feeling pretty good about this.
What would Uther do?
I don't know, ask him and play him.
It looks like it has to be Uther.
You could go for Drake just to get the small value that it has in terms of killing the 2-2. Puts a big minion in the way, maybe draws out a Meteor. But instead he's going to go for the Spirage Steed.
You know, I like the way that you mentioned when it comes to usage of Uther, is that you just get a better hero power.
Yeah, it's just a 2-2 every turn.
And that makes a difference when it comes to the way you develop threats on the board. Especially since you are running out of cards in your hand. Your opponent has more cards than you. And that means that every single hero power just gives you a small edge that'll be piling on. Ooh. But it kind of already shown that he has the second polymorph by pointing the card.
It could have been Meteor.
Still leaves the Stegadon behind it.
But also, what's kind of nuts is with this N'Zoth, you get both forms of Pyros back. So there's a 2-2, a 6-6, a 10-10, a 6-6, and a 10-10. Still, I like post N'Zoth with Pyros. It's so much value.
And you get Frozen Champions as well.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's more than that, of course. It's just
Yep.
that just that Pyros, because it dies multiple times with a Death Rattle, it gets brought back as the 2-2 and the 6-6. It's so nutty. So I'm pretty sure now, and this is going to sound very silly, as most of my casting does, but Bequiet just has to focus on not getting remotely close to being within lethal range of Jarla, because he just has more threats. I think his threats are way more dense than Tyrion N'Zoth.
Yeah.
You know, yes, okay, there's often two Tyrions, but once you have two Tyrions on the board, the Ashbringer is still almost always one Ashbringer because the way it overlaps. So as long as they can be dealt with and controlled, Bequiet has unlimited water elementals to a certain extent. He has double Pyros procs. He has the champions for 2 more random legendaries. He has the fact he can freeze his opponent with those water elementals potentially to stop Ashbringer being swung. So everything leans towards Bequiet here as long as he doesn't just let it slip. I think he really want Jaina pretty soon now. I think it's gone past the point of actually needing Jaina on the board. Wait, is this going to have to be a weapon swing?
Kind of looks like you don't want to lose your second equality to it.
I don't know whether he could have just passed. That's what I was thinking.
As the Paladin in this situation, you need some pressure. And this sets up a decent-sized board. Wow. So it brings out the 2 Pyros that I mentioned, the Frozen Champions, and...
I think that's it so far. Has he played Beetles yet?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. I think we saw 1 Beetle.
What I will say is I don't think Bequiet can play N'Zoth safely, because if the minions are killed off, the 2 Frozen Champions and the Pyros, the small one, or the big one, or both, it means that his hand is full. And he hasn't drawn Jaina yet.
Yeah.
You cannot even risk it. Like, you need Jaina to be comfortable in this game. You cannot just say, oh, well, if I burn Jaina, then whatever. It's like, nope, doesn't work like that. You need Jaina. So he's going to skip over the N'Zoth. and just go for an easy meteor here. Gain some additional armor, push him a little bit further out of range. And bide his time until he can meet the Frostlich Gene.
Tarim is not bad. It's still crazy how many legendary taunt minions Paladin has for that Stonehill Defender. It also became significantly better for Warlock.
Yeah, Rin, Voidlord. Yeah. Yep, that'll do. The awkward thing here is when you plan on playing Tarim. Because when you ever thinking you have it is the best pick there, I think. But it's when you ever seriously thinking you're going to have the board to make an impact for Tarim. It's mainly to counter the N'Zoth turn from Bequiet.
Exactly. It's more of a response to whatever the mage will be doing. Like an example, even with the Doomsayer. Sometimes just play the Tarim to make a Doomsayer 3/3 so you can trade into it with one minion.
There's 2 horsemen. Not that it matters, because pretty much any AoE, any AoE in Bequiet's deck kills them.
Well, Dragon's Fury with Ice Block for the 3rd time will not do the work.
It'll kill the 2/2s.
Wait, what happened? Oh, Medivh from the Shifter's Arrows.
Okay, that's insane. That's actually insane.
That is a lot of value.
That is a card you would also like to play in this deck, but there isn't space.
Yeah.
There is if you get it from Frozen Champion one way or another. Jarla's probably going, wait, was Medivh in the list? Oh yeah, from Xeris.
Frozen Champion.
I hate you.
Frozen Champion into Xeris into Medivh.
The frozen throne calls.
And this kind of value is just getting more and more absurd. The only thing that may have been better than Medivh, maybe, is say Tyrion, because he also runs N'Zoth. Maybe.
This is such an awkward position for Jarla. He doesn't really want to play the Ragnaros, but at the same time, it's the biggest threat that he has. Goes for the Tarim already.
He has to trade into the 3/3 as well, because it means that his whole board isn't dead to a 1 clear a lot of the time. Or 1 flame strike, for example.
Dragon's Fury into Dragon's Fury.
Okay.
I mean, even the Ice Block draw now would kill 3 minions, so that's not that terrible. And he gets a decent sized minion as well.
Not even going to bother with the Ice Block. Doesn't need to. He'll use up a charge on Atiesh. And he is nowhere near dying anytime soon. This is why I think the... although it plays very differently and it's different for different matchups, this is why I think if you go in Control Paladin at the moment, and this is a very early on assumption, but I do feel like the OTK Paladin is the way to go, because it gives you a certain level of threat.
What's the difference in the deck list? Like, you need to, of course, get it Beto, right?
You run 2 bullies, Beto, no like Ragnaros or anything, but you still run Call to Arms, you still run Loot Hordes, you still run Dirty Rats, you still run Uther. You don't run Tyrion, but you have plenty of defensive options. Still Pyro, double Equality, double Consecrate, Radiant Rallying Blade. Sorry.
Do you run
you run Hydrologist because you want the secret.
Do you run Stonehill Defenders?
Because you want Hydrologist for the secret, because you often need a secret to prop the OTK. But the issue here is this deck, although the N'Zoth is great for late game, it feels like a lot of other decks do late game way better than Paladin. And
that's kind of...
And if you plan on beating up aggro, what happens when you're into control? We've seen this Paladin lose versus the Big Priest. We've seen this Paladin not lost yet by any means, but not having the best of games versus this Mage now. Polymorph can come down now to deal with Ragnaros. I was just about to say, I promise, does even need to deal with Ragnaros. You can save Polymorph for the Jaina Pole and just get a guaranteed elemental. This harkens back to the whole point of, does Bequiet really ever need to actually try and kill Jarla? Probably not.
You can just out-fatigue his opponent.
Well, especially with Call to Arms. I'm not sure how many 2-drops are left.
I think 0.
Oh, is there 0? Okay, so Call to Arms is dead one way or the other anyway.
The previous Call to Arms just pulled out a loot hoarder.
Right, so yeah, 0. So Call to Arms is rough either way at this point in the game. You either thin your deck, which makes you lose harder in fatigue, or it's literally a dead card like it is now. It's a 4-mana spell, do nothing.
Great for counter spell.
The frozen
Yes.
throne calls.
And this is really awkward. The Tarim doesn't really do much. Pyromancer quality before you have seen Zov. Ugh.
You just can't, but Bequiet's putting him in, Jarla in a position that he probably feels like he has to a lot of the time, or he has to soon.
Was merely a setback.
I think is that Sourfang? I'm not sure. Someone will correct me.
Sourfang? You mean on the horse?
Yes, the Death Knight Sourfang. Oh no, it's not. It's Narzim?
No clue.
It says his name when you hovered over him.
Oh, it does. Okay. Yeah, Nazgrim.
Ah, okay. Ouch.
Double ice block curse.
Not that it really matters, to be honest, for Bequiet here. It's all this does is get him to, if he draw on a card, it gets him to Jaina potentially quicker.
Yeah.
But that's it. Like it didn't particularly. He's not even used the ice block he's got in hand.
Not a blizzard.
Just doesn't care about Ragnaros. It's just hold on to the polymorph. Wants the value from the Atiesh instead. Polymorph is worth so much more post Jaina.
Yeah.
Look at the difference in power level of these two hands.
I don't think you even compare it.
Yeah.
Two different words.
Was merely
It looks like one deck is a control deck, the other one, it's not really a control deck anymore. When you compare it.
The other one is just factually a deck. It has cards in it, and you play the game with it.
And a Tarim already. Ooh. Now this has to be the Pyromancer quality because that's the reason why.
Look at the. This is the problem. Pyromancer quality, then Bequiet goes, which crazy minion in my hand now do I want to play?
It doesn't really change much, right?
Nope.
It's like you get a 6/6 and a 10/10 to your hand with form of 2 Pyruses, and then you get 2 random legendaries. Even if they're both not pagels, doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah. You probably wouldn't play them if they're not Pagos.
Yeah,
you
I
don't want
mean,
to fatigue yourself. But in general, it can be almost any legendary, and it's fine.
Since you still have the Pyruses, those 2 Pyruses are enough to grind out your opponent. You have a 6/6 and a 10/10, and then you have a 10/10 when the 6/6 dies. That's insane.
And the use of Consecrate earlier
calls.
means that this is going to be a little bit more tricky. Because it looks like it's gonna have to do the pyro, the backwards pyro play to
That's a
be
very
able
good
to
play.
keep the minions alive. So Pyro's 1, Pyro's 2. Is that Ixlid?
Yeah, that's excellent.
Oh my.
And Illidan.
Okay, Bequiet has to play Illidan. He has a new animation.
Does he?
He has a new entrance animation.
Oh, I didn't actually see that.
Yeah. He. Do you want me to tell you, or do you want it to be a surprise?
Tommy, we're not going to see it anymore.
He throws his glaives onto the board,
Oh.
and then his wings appear over the glaives, and then he appears on the board. It's pretty cool.
Damn. Now we have to play it.
Look, if Bequiet doesn't, we're gonna have to get a ruling to see if he's allowed to win this series.
Ixlid into Dirty Rat.
I mean, it's an extra 2/6.
It is.
It's actually not, and it defends your Ixlid for the turn after, where you go Pyros. And go unlimited Pyros. Go
Unlimited power.
Yeah, he's had enough. He knows that Jarla's got almost nothing left, so use the polymorph now to gain the
I
advantage.
mean, this deck doesn't really need even to change.
It makes it safe though.
Yeah. But in this particular situation,
Wait,
you're just gonna...
Jarla's got 4 cards left.
And there's...
And 2 of them N'Zoth and Tyrion.
I think so.
One's N'Zoth, right? He's not played the
Yeah.
N'Zoth.
One is in
But I think
the
one's
other
his
one
Tyrion. He's not played the second Tyrion yet.
Mhm.
That's a little bit unfortunate for Jarla, I must say.
Oh, maybe he did. Wait.
He played second Tyrion? He got one off Stonehill that he played early on.
And we saw 2 polymorphs, and the second one was used on a Tyrion, so that has to be a Tyrion in the deck. Yeah. Let's go.
Look! Wings.
Okay, that is pretty cool.
That is cool. The other Peacekeeper can reduce the Illidan down, but gets to trade into it, sure. But what is this board, you know?
Wait. It's getting kind of tough now to kill the Raiders. And there's already
He has
on
2
board.
turns. He can just double ping.
I mean, yeah, he can. But
Oh, never mind.
now he just can trade. Yeah.
Pinging over 2 turns, having the Flame of Azeroth down as well means he can take care of 1. Oh, here we go. Yeah, he can't play the Ixlid because it just dies.
There's the Tyrion.
Yes.
And we have seen both polymorphs being played already. But the problem is, there's still Meteor.
And it's still just ping trade Pyros.
Yeah, that too.
It's getting a little bit rough though because we talk about Tyrion and then N'Zoth being at the bottom of the deck. Where's Jaina? If Jaina came down in the past, any time in the past 10 turns,
Would have been easy.
Jarla would have been so much in control here. The Raven doing a job there since there are no spells left, getting that Dragon's Fury.
So we have 4 cards left in Bequiet's deck.
And that's going to be a full board clear. There is, yeah, to be fair, there's still second ice block. There is still Alex Straza to go up again. But then the N'Zoth follow-up.
Oh my.
Is this
Alright.
going to happen?
This is such a huge swing now with N'Zoth.
So it's still 1 Tyrion, right?
One
The other one
Tyrion,
was poly.
2 Beetles, Loot Holder. That Loot Holder is actually kind
problem.
of weird.
2 Loot Hoarders. Unless there's one still in
No.
there. Is it
Both
2
of-
definitely?
the
Oh, yeah,
both
because
play.
of Call to Arms. Yeah, of course. So 2 Loot Hoarders are a problem. And, yeah, 2 Loot Hoarders, 2 Beetles, and a Tyrion. This should be, yes. And now... Oh, Flame Strike.
Well, the Flamestone doesn't really deal with the Tyrion, so that's a problem. Huh.
No, it's just good later on.
So this turn, Flame Strike.
No, you kill Tyrion, right, to remove as many charges as possible off the weapon. Oh no? Okay.
Well, if you do the Flame Strike, next turn, Meteor is a guarantee of clear.
That is.
I mean, not guaranteed.
So yeah,
but-
he can meet your ice block
Yes.
next turn, and then Alex Straza the turn after, and then full 5 swings plus. I mean, how many cards are left? Yeah, he's drawing Jaina. This is a nutty game.
I honestly believe that Bequiet already has it in its pocket. And still no Jaina! 2 cards left.
He still has a few more turns. Because also bear in mind that Jaina negates a weapon swing because she gains 5 armor and the Ashbring will hit for 5. Also, if set up properly, there is no good way now for Jarla to deal with a Water Elemental. How does he kill the Water Elemental? He can't. So as long as Jaina somehow is in fact in the deck, I am just taking a glance at the deck list.
It can
To make,
be
yeah,
the last
it is.
card.
Okay, just to make sure I'm not going absolutely
But
crazy here.
if it's the last card, then Alex Straza needs to be played first.
Yeah. So Alex, but wait, does he take too much damage anyway? Wait, can he lose this game? How much fatigue? So it's 4 fatigue next turn. So 5 the turn after, 8. Oh, so he has to kill Alex Straza and he can't.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, this game.
So without even Jaina, Jaina was the last card in the entire deck.
It got close, though.
Got really close.
But now
because of that, because the Jaina wasn't the last
if
card.
Jaina was drawn at any given turn in this game that wasn't exactly the last turn, then yes, this would be a lot safer. But that hit, Jaina just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure we saw a number 4 on that fatigue, and that is going to be Bequiet going through in a crazy last game versus Jarla. Literally took it to the last cards in each player's deck, but Bequiet seemed to be in control for so much of that. It felt like a matter of time more than anything else, Lothar.
But it was kind of getting close. Like that.
It was scary.
That Jaina was trolley.
Yeah. The loot hoarders.
They made it.
Made that game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Made that game for Bequiet 100%.
Yep.
Because if he didn't go that far in fatigue, then suddenly in 2 swings,
He would have been dead.
he could have killed him.
Yep.
But there was a lot that went crazy about that game. That was a pretty fun one. And again, we are in a point in the meta game because it's so soon after the patch. Excuse me, sorry. Where we're seeing like Control Mage with Syndragosa versus Control Paladin. Bequiet, welcome. And congratulations on that win.
Thank you.
We're going to skip to...
Let me rest that a little bit.
Well, I was going to say, we're going to actually skip to like the end of that series as opposed to sign at the start. But what was that last game like for you? Because both you had Jaina at the bottom. If you'd drawn it at any point earlier, you would have been in such a much better position. But also there was Tyrion and N'Zoth at the bottom of Jarla's deck as well.
Yeah, right. So if I got Jaina on an early point, so I would definitely win the game because on paper I'm favored, like 70%. And yeah, Jaina was bottom, and when I didn't count the damage from fatigue,
Right.
so I thought like,
Am I you're losing?
Am I gonna losing
hoarders,
this?
right?
What?
If the loot hoarders didn't
Right,
exist
if-
from the Zoth,
yeah,
then
right.
you wouldn't have gone deep enough.
Yeah, but I am saying, am I gonna losing it? I think no way. When I realized it was 5 damage, so
Right.
I won the game. But yeah, if Jaina comes a little bit earlier in the bottom 10 or something, I'm gonna win it for sure.
I mean, the Control Mage was actually almost losing you the entire match because of the Dragon's Fury pulling 2 times an ice block. Right, that was probably a very frustrating moment for you, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, if it puts, I mean, I guess it was 5 or more damage. I'm gonna win it.
But you only had 1 polymorph left in the deck as well.
1 polymorph, double ice block,
Yeah.
so it was 7 to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it happened 2 games in a row.
Right, it was it happens 2 games in a row. Maybe I should cut 1 ice block.
That's what a lot of people have been doing at the moment, right?
Right.
Just cutting
I
one.
think it's a better idea.
Okay,
Well,
so
if I since I saw the lineups, it's more control based. I would also cut 1 ice block.
Makes sense. So I have to ask you, why are you playing the Control Mage version with Syndragosa? What did convince you that this is the road to take?
Actually, I had no time to prepare. I was on holiday last week, so yeah. And my teammate was playing the Enzo version, so I just copied, did a few changes, and yeah, tried to be good. And it's kind of good. I think. I've met like 3 Parla, so it was really good against Parla.
right, so now how favored did you feel going in versus Jarla? Just a lineup versus lineup.
I think I'm slightly favored. It depends how we queue the matchups. But if I queue correctly, so I'm slightly favored. And when I go 2-0 up, so I was okay. I lose versus Secret Mage. It's a 50-50 matchup versus Dragon Priest, or maybe something a little bit more favored for me. And then I'm gonna win with a Mage versus a Paladin for sure.
Yeah, and I think that was it. I think the Paladin was the sticking point for me, where all of your decks that could get wins were even slower.
Right.
Than the Control Paladin, because without the OTK, Beardo sort of
Right.
combo.
Jackie Chan was playing the OTK version.
Right.
It's a way better versus me.
Yeah, because you give them the time,
Right.
as opposed to just like your threats to just last longer than the Control Paladin from Jarla. But it was a really crazy series actually, and another long one, but
And also,
definitely
I
cool
want to
games.
note, Big Priest is not a bad deck.
Oh yeah. I mean,
That
it can swing a game. That's
Yeah.
definitely.
I hate Big Priest.
I know, but
Now
I
you.
even rolled Barnes on 6 with Shadow Essence,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I won the game.
And you didn't use Spellstone. You didn't cast Spellstone that game, right? You had it in hand for most of the game. You didn't end up casting it.
You had even two copies.
Because I get these. If I get the Zera and Lich King, I overdraw cards.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't cast.
All I mean is you didn't even need it.
Yeah.
That's how that's how nutty that game was. It was crazy. But no, congratulations, and you will be moving on. So good luck in your next match.
Thank you.
And